Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicki Boutin design team and I am so excited that you're here today because I really want to share this layout with you. It was so much fun to put together, took no time, and I love how it turned out. So as you're going to see, I start with a foundation paper that has already been gesso. And my idea is that I want to work with acrylic paint. I haven't used it in a while, and some stamping. A couple weeks ago, I used some stamping and acrylic paint on my Bible and I love the results. So I wanted to use the same idea for a layout, and I have no picture in mind. I have no plan. Like I said, all I knew is that I wanted to be heavy on stamping with different mediums. So all I'm doing is using also just the cool tones of the acrylic paints. It's really windy lately in Toronto, it's getting cold. So we're gonna go from gray skies to blue skies within seconds. You're gonna see it in my apartment because the light gets really crazy the way the sun filters into my apartment. So all I'm doing is diluting some of the acrylic paint, and I'm gonna use the circle stamps from the All the Good Things collection. And I love this circle, one of my favorite stamps that Vicki has come out with. And all I'm doing is I water down the paint so that it's a little bit thicker than water. It sounds really bad. It depends on the consistency. You're gonna see that I add water at one point and I make it heavier at other one. And all I'm doing is just picking up paint or wobbling the stamp on top of the paint, and then I'm gonna transfer onto the gesso paper, and you're gonna see that creates kind of a streaks, like when you lift the stamp's gonna create the streaks. But as the watercolor set, in this case, or the paint set, it gives you this really soft watercolor circle, which is love how this turned out. Love it. Now I brought in this blue is saltwater taffy and it's really dark, and I didn't think it was gonna be as dark when I started stamping. So you're gonna see that along the way I start mixing it with the previous blue, so just to lighten it up a little bit. And what I'm doing this time is I'm wobbling the stamp a little bit when I add it to my foundation paper. This is gonna help me with create a softer look to the circle. Once I have that done, I'm gonna use the same paint, but I'm gonna use the polka dot circles. And just because I want to lighten up some of that blue. And you're going to see that I'm going to bring a little bit of a green, and this is Juicy Pear. Same thing, I water it down. And then I'm going to use, first of all, the field stamp, like the whole stamp. And this is a small circle, just to add a few accents. Like I said, very inspired by cool tones that day for some reason. Maybe because the sun was changing so much. I went from blue skies to gray skies. And I just loving the tones. I'm a fan of teal, so this was right up my alley. Along the way, I'm bringing the big circle stamp, and I start mixing the colors because I want to make sure that it's not blocky. And one of the beauties of working with acrylic paint is that it dries really fast. So as I am working and stamping the different images, some parts are still wet, so the colors kind of mix together, and some parts are dry, so you can see the difference. Loving how this turned out. Now I'm going to bring some in the yellow just to lighten up, to warm it up a little bit. And you're going to see that I'm just going to use the full circle small stamp on with the yellow. I just want the little pops of the yellow, especially around the blue, where the blue is located, just to line it up a little bit. Once I'm done with that, I think that I need to bring a little bit more green just to marry all the colors together. And I'm gonna bring in the darker gray, not gray, the darker green that's in the Vicky's acrylic paints, and I added some water, and I'm using the sunburst stamp. And you're gonna see when I add it, you can see the little rim of watercolor in the center. Love how that turned out. As I went along, I started picking up some of the other colors just to stamp, and I'm getting something that went from a really watery watercolor to something that's a little bit drier, so that the impressions are different. Loving how that turned out. And you're gonna see I've already switched the direction of the layout. Like I said before, I started a vertical design, and then I'm going to go into horizontal design. Now my idea is that I want to use more stamping, create dimension, and this time I'm going to use the color wheels. Again, I'm keeping it all on the cool tones, and I'm using this time the latest stamp that Vicki released, and this I think is called Escape, and it's the one with the butterfly. So I started by adding just a small circle that comes with the dashes, but as I stamped it, and I love it because it gives me dimension, I'm going to bring in probably my favorite part of the stamp is the little X's or crosses. And I'm using the navy ink because I want it to pop on the background. I'm loving how this looks like, but I think I need to add dimension. So my choice was to bring some art crayons and the script stamp that came in the All the Good Things collection release. And all I'm doing is I diluted the art crayon, sorry, to watercolor, and I am adding some of the script around the triangle, the circles, and I'm loving it because it's creating the shadow at the background. It's creating dimension without adding, just with stamping. So my next choice is I think I want to line it up a little bit more and add a little bit more dimension. So I'm going to use some white acrylic paint. I don't have Vicky's white acrylic paint, so this is just the one from Michaels. And I am using the little foam applicator just to push a little bit of white paint through this stencil. And I love this because it has these little tiny circles. I'm staying always circles just for this layout. And I'm just being random of where I add them. Still no picture in mind, but I think the white is just gonna add a little bit dimension because I'm gonna play with these images too in a little bit. You're gonna see. So all I'm doing is just adding some, and like I said before, I'm thinking, you know what, maybe a triangular shape is gonna work for this layout. Again, all I'm doing is creating a background. I have no picture in mind. I just love how this is turning out. Once I have that done, I'm thinking, you know what, I think I need to mess it up a little bit. So my choice is I'm gonna bring the same colors that I use to stamp the script. And this time I'm going to create a few drips on my page. So I water it down, this little two crayon combination. And all I'm doing is picking a little bit of the paint and adding it to the top of the layout. And then I'm just going to tap the paper so that the drip just falls down organically. The only thing you're going to see me do is that I'm going to bring a piece of paper towel so I dry it. I don't want it to go all the way down. I just want like little drips along the way. The only thing is because I have the foundation paper that is being gesso, some of the drips would widen. So that's going to say I'm going to bring the paper towel to dry up the excess so that it doesn't widen and I just get that little fine line. So just be careful with that if you try to recreate this. And as you're going to see, I just had some fun creating some drips. I'm creating them at different heights, not just at the top. I'm going in between the circles. Like I wanted just something messy on the background. Again, I'm not thinking of the picture. All I'm thinking is I'm loving how this background looks like, all the layers, and it's all stamped. It's all different mediums, just stamped. A little bit of water just to create the drip. Now, once this is done, and I really love how this turned out, like I said, like up to now, I'm thinking, you know, all those white circles that I added need a little bit of definition. So first, as always, my projects, there's going to be some splatters because I have to mess it up. You know, I have to make it messy. And then, but I'm loving the white circles, but you really can't tell. I mean, there's a texture, but you really can't tell that much. So my choice to actually bring some of the circles, I don't know, the texture that I added to the paint, is I'm going to bring in a fine liner and a black fine liner. Did I say it properly? Sorry about that. And I'm just going to start scribbling around some of the circles, not all of them, just some of them, just to bring them forward, like just to add to the idea of that the dimension, to have them as if coming off the background. Love how this turned out. Honestly, I think some of the pages that I create usually without planning mine are the ones that I end up loving the most, and this is one of them. Now, as I am creating all these little circles, I am getting an idea of what picture I can use, and I have quite a few pictures of my kids and I on like snow walks because we live right behind, there's a park right behind our apartment. And I had this idea as I was working on these little circles that I have a few pictures of my kids playing in the snow, throwing snowballs at each other. So while this completely dry, because the drips were not completely dry, I went and posted one of the pictures. And one of the reasons why it came to my mind is because my daughter has this really dark teal jacket and it matches some of the colors on the background. So I'm going to use it. And like I said, it went from this layer went from a vertical design to a horizontal design, and I'm going to end up being a diagonal design. So the first thing I did is cut a little piece of the paper at the top and just create a little notch. And I'm used some of the papers that had the tones that I have on the background to layer behind the picture. Since I'm using circles, I went through the journal and ephemera and found some of the circle frames, and I'm just going to use them to tell the story of the snowball. Now, you're going to see that I'm going to try to keep between all the embellishments between the greens, the blues, the yellows tones. So I'm just adding a few, this is all from the journal and ephemera, by the way, just to add some embellishments to the design. And I'm going on a diagonal design from the top to the bottom of the page. A little bit of foam adhesive along the way is just going to help me, you know, create some dimension. Now I'm gonna take advantage of that little notch that you saw me that I cut the paper and distressed it a little bit, and I'm just gonna glue a piece of paper that has the blue tone, the light blue tone, the watercolor, and this is the one with the beautiful flowers from the Field Notes collection, just to the top. Once I glue it, I'm gonna just trim the back so I don't waste all the paper, and I'm gonna start working on adding a few more details. Now I came about Vicky's sticker book and I love it. There's so much you can do with that booklet. So I'm gonna use a few of those stickers just to bring more of the circle images onto this layout, to bring more of the colors that I'm using. You're gonna see that I'm bringing a few I bring foam adhesive just because I want to pop things in this place. I'm gonna bring in some stars just because I use those sunburst stamp on the background. I think it's just because also the picture has of my sun throwing the snowball. I'm thinking, that splash. I'm thinking that star. So you're gonna see that I bring some of the stickers from the book. I bring some of the puffy stickers. I'm gonna bring a little bit of the chipboard sticker that says "Be a Little Crazy." That's gonna be my title. And all I did is add a little bit of foam adhesive behind it so it will pop. Now, because I have the little distress at the top, I'm gonna create another one at the bottom. Like I said, a diagonal design. And I decided to add this green piece of paper that is also the one that I'm using as a layer behind the picture, just to, kind of complement the colors. And you're gonna see that I'm gonna add a small cluster at the bottom. This little tab comes from the paper with all the journaling spots. So I count the word remember, sorry, and I'm just gonna add a few stickers, some from the booklet and some from the Field Notes collection, just to add a small cluster. It's gonna end up looking different because I think after I took it off camera, I changed the small circle to the big see-through circle watercolor that comes in the watercolor background, in the watercolor stickers from the Field Notes collection. And I'm just adding a small little, all these little in the puffy stickers, there's this tiny little circle. So I'm just gonna add them to create to kind of guide your eye on the diagonal. Now, once I have all this set, I'm gonna take it off camera to add my lines of journal. And after I added my lines of journal, I realized that I needed to bring an accent color that it was gonna guide your eye throughout the diagonal design. So I added a little bit of black ink. That's the only thing you don't see because I did it off camera. And I love how this turned out, honestly. There's so much you can do with just so little, and this is just stamped in different mediums. Love how this turned out. I hope you try it. If you have any questions, as always, don't hesitate to contact me. And I hope to see you soon. Thank you so much for joining me.